I don't deserve this. Deserves got nothing to do with it.
Good evening and welcome to the Joust. My name is Naggy. I'm here once again with one of the local Newcastle sex sirens, Liam McNeil. I never understood what that meant.
Well, of course, Naggy comes from Greek mythology, as most good things in life do. There was an island of the sirens. They were like the mythical mermaids. They'd sing the songs and they would attract the sailors. They'd follow the siren song.
No, they were not fish. They were
manatees.
They were feathered creatures, or birds, weren't they?
Yes, they were birds. Just. And I tell you what, look, I've got to be honest with you. If I've been on a boat doing nothing but rooting dudes for 8 months, if I hear a woman singing on an island, be it a bird, be it a woman, I'm making a beeline.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Be it, you'd be in. That's what they That's what they used to say out there on the oceans.
Yeah.
Crashing oceans across the bow. That's what they'd be like. Tell you what, need a woman. You know, and God bless them for it. You know,
they're only human.
Yeah, look, they had nothing against having sex with men.
Nothing against it at all.
No, they just had enough of it. That's all it was.
Gets tiring from time to time. Now, Naggy, what do we usually start our show with? We're going to stick to the theme this week by beginning with
the news. If you keep the news going, we don't have to talk about.
But let's talk about something that we both love, Naggy. Something we adore.
Yes.
Two things, in fact, that we adore. Coming, so close together thematically. A pub and rugby league, Naggy. What is a better combination than rugby league and a pub?
Well, it would be rugby league team buying a pub, or at least investing in a pub, or having some interest in some pub.
Yeah, in some way being associated with an alcohol-serving venue, I think is important to rugby league.
They come
it's
together.
A cornerstone, if you will. Rugby league was founded in a pub.
Yeah.
This great game had its nebulous in a pub.
So did the Labour Party.
So did the Labour Party.
Yeah. That's when you get the best ideas.
Party of inner-city fancy university boys.
At
a pub.
At the time, it was the workers, the painters, the dockers, and the other unionists.
The communists.
Yeah, the communists.
Yeah, we're very pro-communist on this show. But in huge news, Jousters, for all rugby league loving people, everyone loves the Warriors. What's not to love about the Auckland Warriors? They're a lovable
did win
club.
a lot of fans last year. Last year, it was sort of like, the Warriors again. They haven't won a premiership.
Yeah.
They've been there a couple of times. They can't do it.
And what better place to put all these new fans than in a pub, which the Warriors have gone and purchased next to Eden Park, the spiritual home of New Zealand Rugby Union. In a huge blow,
yes,
the Warriors have purchased a public venue, Naggy, a public house built for drinking. I think this is a truly monumental step for rugby league, because there has been talks of the NRL buying a pub from Laundry Hotels, so they've got an asset, but that's run. But we don't like the NRL. I don't want to be at a pub where Peter V'landys might come in and say, you should bet on this horse. I want a pub where the rugby league loving public,
of course,
are the ones that are coming and talking to me, not the boys from the corporate boxes.
No,
they don't go to the pub anyway. I want a pub owned by the people.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, Liam, but I believe a pub is a place that you go to drink beer.
Naggy, I wish I could correct you, but you're not wrong.
And watch football.
Yeah.
And then they've decided to say the stadium is going to be affiliated with, but really the stadium itself is almost a place that you go to drink beer and watch football.
And at a pub, you can get full-strength beer, not the nonsense, watered-down rubbish they serve you at the current-day stadiums. That's wrong with the state of the world. You can't get a full-strength beer. I think this is a very astute investment, Naggy, because they not only purchased the pub, they purchased the building housing the pub, which has also a Domino's. What more do you want when you're pissed?
That's right. Yeah.
I want an easy loaded pepperoni at 3 a.m. when I'm stumbling out of Eden Park. A motorcycle accessories shop.
For the bikies.
Of course. They've got the mongrel mob involved.
Yes.
And then a fancy restaurant, which the corporate bigwigs, they can go to. They can have their fancy restaurant. The people get the pub.
And you got to give the fancy men the cushions. I've always said it.
You've been a big advocate of the fancy men getting the cushions, but no one else.
No.
Now, Naggy, Do you think,
Yes.
in a rugby league and pub-loving city like Newcastle, that this would be an astute investment for the Newcastle Knights to make?
I think there's so many pubs in Newcastle, but only one that the Newcastle Knights should really affiliate themselves
Absolutely.
with. And what pub would that might be?
That'd be the Wickham Park Hotel, ladies and gentlemen. I combined my love of pubs, rugby league, and burgers on Saturday night. I went in
Yes.
with my old man, had a couple of schooners, and
Yeah.
had a Joust burger. Let me tell you, Jousters, I'm a simple man.
You are.
I like burgers.
You do.
I like pizzas.
You do.
As I mentioned with the Domino's loaded pepperoni at 3 in the morning. What the wonderful people at the Wicco have said, Liam, why don't we just put it together?
Yeah.
I said, yes,
Nice.
please, boys. Thank
Yeah.
you very much. So I can tell you, Jess, it's an amazing burger. You know, classic all-meat patty, American cheese, crispy chorizo, chorizo jam.
Ooh.
Oh,
Hello.
big old pickles on there. It was
If you-
brilliant.
yeah.
So Jousters get down. I believe it's $20,
Yeah.
including chips. 15 during a night's game.
That's the kind of discount that you want to get. If you're heading to the, watching the Knights game anywhere, it's got to be the Wickham Park Hotel.
Yeah.
And you get the burger special,
My-
which is named after us.
My only concern is that it is a very perfectly proportioned burger.
Yes.
So I didn't go into a food coma after eating it, which, given the result, I kind of wish I had. But if it was a more joyous night, perhaps a Knights win,
Yeah.
I might eat 2 of them.
You could have.
Yeah.
You could have
Just to
eaten
pass
two.
out
Just to
of joy.
just go to sleep. It's called a meat cheese sleep.
Yeah, meat
which,
cheese sleep,
which,
yeah.
which is different to regular rest. You know, sometimes people have a smartwatch and they monitor their deep sleep, light sleep, REM, rapid eye movement sleep.
You got to monitor the REM sleep.
Yeah, the REM sleep,
Yeah.
if you will. But if you got this, the meat cheese sleep, you get all three.
Yeah.
Oh, you're done. You
That's
know,
the
the battery
dream combo.
The body battery has gone to 150. You can work for days.
Can work for months.
Yeah.
All fueled by a beautiful Joust burger at the Wickham Hotel.
Yeah.
Next item in the news. Now, this is a funny one, Jousters. For
goes back.
99.99% of the population. Not so funny for the 0.01% of the population. That is Jeremy Marshall King.
Yeah.
But Jeremy Marshall King took a steeden to the noggin in what is the ultimate display of rugby league comedy. There's nothing better than someone getting bonked on the scone
Yeah.
with a pigskin oblong.
Going
Oval, right?
Going about 130 kilometers an
Yeah,
hour.
because Ben Hunt's got a powerful boot.
Yeah, powerful
Let's not lie.
boot.
The man can boot the skin off the belly of the bastard.
Have a look at his thighs.
Look, and he's hit him so hard, he's ended up on a beach somewhere in Bali, and you'll see in the background there, Jousters, Bradman Best is there to build the infrastructure required.
He does.
To have a hospital to heal Jeremy Marshall King's CTE. If you quickly zoom in there, Jousters, on the background. But Naggy, there's
Thank
been
God that Bradman Best was there with the hospital.
Oh yeah, but you wait till the NRL media say he was over there buying shares in Bintang.
Oh.
No, he was healing ailing brains.
It wasn't the first time that we've copped the ball to the noggin.
And thank God it wasn't, because that's what's got me through some tough times, just watching videos of the great Falcons of the game.
Mitchell Pearce, of course, the famous Falcon on Mick Crocker.
Which is funny, because Mitchell Pearce in his general kicking game in his day couldn't hit the backside of a barn.
No, but he hit Mick Crocker square at the noggin.
And look, one of the hardest things you could do in rugby league is knock Mick Crocker out. So
No, he
to do that with the Steedens pretty impressive.
with a ball. He's done it with a ball. And that was great to see. But of course, there is a bit of a history with the Falcon ball. Because
Yeah,
it
some
is-
of our younger listeners may not know the history of why the Falcon is named such.
It is all about the ball hitting the head, which is not typical.
It's rare.
It's rare.
Which is a shame. It should happen more often. But then if it happened more often, would we appreciate it as much?
It possibly could, but it's called the Falcon. And why is it called the Falcon? And people say because of Mario Fennick. He was called the Falcon. But why is he called the Falcon?
Well, Jousters, there's a small island in the Mediterranean that you may not know about if you didn't pay attention in geography. The island of Malta. Now, we all know Mario Fennick is a cultural Australian icon, but he's originally of Maltese descent.
Possibly the most Maltese descent that you've ever met.
I've never met anyone as Maltese as him.
I don't think so.
The only other Maltese man I know is quite pale. Now, Naggy, you're the filmsman of the crew
Yeah,
here. Who was the Maltese Falcon?
Humphrey Bogart, or at least he appeared in the film, The Maltese Falcon, I think
Like
1958.
that great Maltese name, Bogart.
Bogart, yeah. It's a San Francisco cop. It's a wonderful film if you can watch the entirety of it. But that was such an important film in history that they started calling Mario the Maltese Falcon because of the name of the film.
And then Mario was known to get hit in the head by the ball quite often, which
At least once.
it's kind of sad now given what's been revealed about his chronic traumatic
I'm sure the
encephalopathy.
ball did not contribute of all the tough tackles and all the tough hit-ups that he made.
Well, that's it. Playing hooker in that era that he played, that was one of the hardest things he could do.
Could
and
have.
I think, more shameful than
Was
getting
he a
hit in the
hooker?
head
I
regularly.
don't think he was a hooker.
Yeah, he was.
No.
But that was back in the days when you had to be big and brawny to be a hooker.
I thought that he was wearing number 9 but playing a different position, back to the old style.
No, back in the old days, number 13 was the hooker.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
We'll get our buttons man to search quickly Mario Finneck. His favoured position was as a hooker. Where he
Well
represented
done.
New South Wales and State of Origin.
Well
there you
done,
go.
thank you,
But
Liam.
again, that was in a day when hookers had to be tough. They had to pack the scrum. They had to cop punches.
Liam,
they had to strike at the ball.
Remind me to do something in the future, Liam.
I can't remind myself to eat everything, Maggie. I've got no chance.
Remind me with the best of your ability to never try to correct you, okay?
But you're almost always correct.
Oh,
Now, speaking of someone who has not been correct often in his career, Shane Flanagan, ladies and gentlemen. Shane Flanagan has returned from his tenure of being banned for cheating while he was banned for cheating.
Yep.
And he's taken over the St. George Illawarra Dragons, a club that's had some tumultuous times.
they've gone from heroes to scoring zeros.
Were they ever heroes, though, today?
Well, for 1 week, they were everyone's dream of a St. George fan. They thought, we scored 40-plus points on the Titans.
Of all
Therefore,
people.
we must be able to win the premiership.
Premiership
However,
heavyweights, the Titans.
the 2-year-old club, they're not even 2 years, it's a 15-month-old club. The Dolphins said, no, we will score 7 tries to 0.
Which, again, Flanagan, while, being known for cheating,
Wonderful.
obviously not known for his mathematical skills.
Good hairline, good teeth.
Oh, he's great hairline,
Yeah,
great
yeah.
teeth. But that doesn't necessarily imply that you're astute at NRL coaching. But allowing
it's
7
true.
tries to the young upstarts and old retirement homes of the Dolphin, there's no in between. They had one middle-aged player, Jeremy Marshall-King. He's had a steed and booted at him. He's got the brain of a 96-year-old.
They did. Hamasau Tabuai Fado. Thank you very much. I couldn't get the middle part of his name.
Yeah, I know. I'm glad Josh
first-
corrected. I was just going to wait to see how that panned
I
out.
would have just continued muttering and stuttering for minutes. But he scored his first career hat-trick, and he's only 22.
Is that his first career hat-trick?
He's only 22.
I'm more amazed that's his first career hat-trick.
And I'm amazed that he's only 22. It's incredible. I feel like he's
Does
been
that amaze you, Naggy? Because as we've discussed at great length on this show, all rugby league players are 22 or 30.
Yeah.
Except Alex Johnson, who's 25.
Exactly
So
right.
it amazes Naggy that there's a 22-year-old player, despite the fact knowing that at least half the NRL are 22.
He's-
But I'm just amazed that was his first time. He's so electric.
So good.
So good.
So good.
So
So
good
young.
at rugby league and young, youthful, good and amazing.
Full of vigour.
Oh, speaking of old men who are no longer full of vigour, Adam Reynolds might be the outlier. He's 40.
Dickie Knee. Dickie Knee. He's only small. He pops up like that against the camera and then looks over and says little snide comments before he's whipped away.
But in a strange twist,
Yes.
Adam Reynolds got injured. Have we heard that one before, Joust?
Well, I think we might have. But I tell you, I was quite worried for Adam Reynolds because he had his knee, what they call ligament tested on the field by the physios because, we can't
What's
do...
a ligament testing,
Well,
Naggy?
we can't do scans on the field. You're looking at my hair.
Why
Look,
not?
It's going wild. It is
It's
going
so high.
wild.
It's amazing.
It's going high.
Now, Naggy, I take umbrage at that.
Yeah.
Why can't they take scans on the field?
I
What is
don't know.
preventing the NRL from investing heavily into microtechnology so much so that they could invent a scanner to bring on the field?
Surely there's an app.
Just put it in like a satchel.
Yeah,
There's an app for it.
There's an
There
app
you
for
go.
it now.
Yeah.
They just wave the iPhone over the top and they say,
Yeah.
your knee's fine, get back out there.
But this is huge implications for the Broncos, Naggy.
Now, when your knee's sore, you've just injured on the field.
So every morning when I wake up.
Yeah, every morning. And this has happened to me on the field, on the rugby union field in 2014 for the Wanderers Rugby Union Club.
A mighty rugby union club.
Playing the wonderful fours, entertainers, if you will, and
I will indeed.
They were wonderful. They were a wonderful team, wonderful club. Anyway, so the way that the physio checks if your knee is broken via the way of a snapped ACL is they hook it under their shoulder, if you will, cradle it, and then they just move it around a lot, and they just shift it, and then
Just
you can
wiggle it and wobble it.
and then they say to them, don't like the way that it's moving. And that's the worst thing. It's like the dentist. When there's someone in your mouth, you're like, get out of there. And there's someone moving your sore knee, you're like, stop that. But he had it, and we thought, oh, that's his ACL done. Apparently, it's just his MCL. Same injury that I did.
There's like 2 of the 3 same letters. It's easy to confuse them.
PCL, ACL, MCL.
There's a PCL. My God, I can't keep up.
Yeah.
Just as we are not medical professionals, we can't keep up with all the terms.
More
There's so many
tape, guys.
terms.
More tape.
More
The
tape.
only way that rugby league continues on is through.
Anyway, rugby league's perennial old man has somehow made to be look older.
He looks older, yes, of course. I don't know how old. He's 46 years old.
I think so,
Yeah.
I believe so.
They keep powering through. But the unfortunate nature of the game, Liam, is...
Of rugby league in general.
Of rugby league.
Yeah, as a more broad concept, the game of rugby league.
I think so. Is that we cannot continue moving forward without looking back. And now...
Such is the linear passage of time. Again, one day the NRL will, pick their balls up off the ground and work out a way to alter the linear structure of time so that we can go back and just erase this rubbish that you're seeing on your screen, Joust. It's this nonsense that's just it makes me physically ill into my own scorn.
We went up there to Townsville, Frownsville, town, whatever you want to call it, and it was. And we said before, look, it's not a happy place for us. It's not a happy
Nor
place
for anyone. I don't know
for
why
anyone.
anyone.
No, really.
Again, the alligators, the irukandji,
the
sharks,
can't go swimming.
Great Barrier Reef's been mined. You can't go there anymore. Thanks, Tony Abbott.
Thank you.
It's all bleached.
Yeah.
They fracked it. Remember when they fracked the Great Barrier Reef? One of the 8 natural wonders of the world?
You may as well swim in the toilet. There's some bleachers in there.
And not only that, you step out onto the field in Townsville at this time of the year.
Yeah.
You're swimming anyway.
Yes.
There's 120% humidity.
Well, if
they
you-
didn't run onto the field, they freestyled out on the field.
I saw a man out there during the game, and he had an empty cup in his hand. And I said, "What's he doing with that?" And then he just swirled it around in the air, and then it was full. It was full of water. It was, and I was like, well, "How did he do that?" It's David Copperfield out there, and he said, "No. It is the humidity."
I'll tell you, Eric Musambani,
Yeah.
the eel,
Yeah, of course,
he was sitting at home in Equatorial Guinea watching this game, and given how wet it was, he was breaking out into cold sweat.
He knew how wet.
Oh, here I am again. I'm on the blocks at Sydney. It's 2000 all over again. My two opponents have been disqualified. I got to dive here.
Speaking about Eric, who went off to a very strong start to his 100 metres, up the one length of the pool.
A strong first quarter.
It's very, very similar to our very own Newcastle Knights, who I thought they were going to go up there and suffer a 13-point loss. I really did. I was already getting upset about it. And then I had half time, 12-0. Very strong first half.
A gentleman's first half.
And Eric's first half.
And to be 12-0 while not playing poorly, even though the other team played more poorly.
Yes.
That's positive. It's a good thing.
The game is all about playing less poorly than your opposition. It doesn't matter how you do it.
How hard could it be being a rugby league coach?
I don't know.
Play less poorly. How long, coach? 80 minutes. All right, cool. Let's go. That's it.
Score more points.
That's all you have to do.
Yeah.
That's it. Play less poorly. 80 minutes, score more points. It's 3 things.
Unfortunately,
1, 2, 3.
Despite the fact that Adam Elliott got over there for 2 tries, and then it was to 0 at half time, but us season night supporters said, well, the fat lady has not sung. Listen out. I can't hear it. She's fat. She's got a great voice. But we didn't hear it, and we thought, hold the phone. Hold everything. Hold all your devices.
I'm glad I wasn't holding my device, or I'd have thrown it into the ground in fury.
But you're watching it, of course, at the beautiful Wickham.
It's hard to
Park
be
Hotel.
angry at the Wickham Park Hotel.
It was, yeah.
It's very soothing being out there and amongst nature in the beer gardens. I was soothed after the loss, but I was furious during. But afterwards, there was a nice breeze. I was soothed.
I got stuck because I went to some friend's house, right, in Sydney.
Non-rugby league people.
They
had to view a sight they've never seen, isn't it, Naggy?
But courtesy for them, put the game on for me, and I said, look, we're going to have a lovely dinner. We were just going to discuss things, politics, and others. Religion,
the
economy, housing prices,
this cost of living crisis. Thank you,
were.
Tony Abbott.
We were going to discuss all those things, but instead they put the game on and I watched my favourite team lose. But Liam, we didn't just lose in a way that a usual rugby league team loses.
Most rugby league teams tend to lose a game one time, and that's it.
That's all. But
generally,
we managed to lose a game twice.
2 times.
In 83 minutes. Which
2
is
times.
a very, very special skill.
It's arguably the most amount of times you can lose a rugby league game,
sure.
given the way the modern game is.
Sure.
In the past, you could lose a game 4 times, 5 times. They just have to keep replaying.
They have to keep going.
Like that famous grand final.
Of course.
They had to replay it.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It was a draw, that's why. So they only lost once. The great replayed grand final, they only lost once.
One time.
They didn't get to experience the shame of being beaten twice on the same day.
Of course, watching it, you watch your team lose with the Naggy try in the 76th minute, and then you think, oh well, they're gonna this is gonna be it. We're barely gonna get the ball back. Hang on a second, 20-all. We're going to Golden Point. And we get that little warm feeling inside.
The tingly.
Yeah, we don't know whether we're going to shit ourselves or get excited. We don't know. It's something in between. And
Or do both.
And we could do both.
Both.
But then we watch it again, and 3 minutes later we decide we have shit ourselves because
what an immense dive from Kalen Ponga there, Jousters. If you'd cast your eyes to the screen, for those listening who can't cast their eyes to the screen, I will try and describe this to you. It's in what I can only describe as a defiance of the great law of gravity invented by Isaac Newton himself. Kalen Ponga seems to have dove across the field, fully perpendicularly to the ground in an attempt to break Chad Townsend's knee to prevent him scoring goal.
Desperate. Chad Townsend's
and that's what the game needs, more desperation. It sucks when it doesn't work.
Certainly lacked desperation, I think, in that game.
I think that's a very good summary of the whole game for the Knights. There was no desperation. There was chances to score. There was chances to be scored against that we let up. There was, tries that weren't allowed to the Cowboys that we weren't desperate enough to prevent.
Exactly.
It was a lack of desperation.
4-point lead with 10 minutes to go. That's too many minutes. Not enough points.
Not enough points. Too many minutes.
I've said it before.
It's
and
that
I'll say
old
it again.
conundrum.
Need more points.
But we do have to talk headwear, Naggy, as we always do on this program. So let's talk headwear. Who have we got for a head to be worn first?
Had to be
worn first.
There was a few brain explosions, Liam. Brain explosions.
We were going to give hats back ons to several single brain explosions this week, but we would be here till Friday.
Yes. Notable mentions of brain explosions had to be Dan Gagai going down the short side when there was barely a metre to work with.
And then throwing an offload when there was no one to throw it to in the in goal.
Back into the in goal.
Back over the in goal, like that famous William Slater one.
Yes, never worked. Always Queenslanders that do it. Yeah. That's what they go to.
Disgusting people.
He did it, and then I thought, well, that's all right. We get the pineapples out of the way. But then Kai Pearce-Paul, there's another one. Kalen Ponga driving the ball cold. That's all right. Kai Pearce-Paul forgot that the game was on television.
Well, no, look, the Northern English boy in him just came out. He gave he gave the old Lewisham love tap.
Yeah.
Rubbed someone on the face with the elbow and then gave him the palm. He's from the north of England. Usually in the north of England, they don't pick that up on TV because the air is so laden with coal dust.
Yes.
You can't see the field.
No, of course.
You can't see the field. I don't know why they set the cameras up. So what he forgot is that in Townsville, there's no coal in the air because it's just water.
It's just water.
Water's see-through.
See-through.
Water is see-through.
He forgot the transparency of water. and we'll forgive him this one time for it, but he does get a hats back on for it.
What I will say, as we were watching, and my dad and I pointed this out, he did realise the power of the buoyancy of water.
Okay.
He was impossible to take to the ground. They kept tackling him. They kept trying to put him on the deck, which is important if you're a defender.
Exactly.
Couldn't put him down. It was his great length.
You could say the great length helped him when he had the ball, but when he didn't have the ball, his anger and his grit said, no, I'm going to hurt the other player outside of the rules.
Now, I would argue that there's still a place in the NRL for a violent man.
Yes.
There's still a place in your team for a man who will scrub a fella's face into the grass.
I think so.
I like it.
Secret scrubbing.
Yeah, well, that's it. He just needs to work out how to employ the dark arts in a manner that won't be caught on national live television.
I think so too. But hats off, Liam. When we put a hat back on to a player, we have to take our hats back off. And I think there's one standout this week, which we haven't mentioned before. I don't think he's ever had the hats off ever before. And that's Adam Elliott. Liam,
He hasn't. Good point.
What did he do?
He scored 2 tries.
2?
Which I think for a fella named Adam Elliott, that's pretty rare.
Mr. Boyle, if you will.
Mr. Boyle, if you will. He had one job, Adam, keep Millie at Newcastle, and you didn't do it.
And you can say...
I think we got the better end of that deal. Seeing those 2 tries he scored, we got the better end. Millie who?
Finally, it's
I don't
paid
know
off. It's a long-term investment for us.
Long-term investment. So I think Adam Elliott gets the hats off. He was very good in the middle. He's got good footwork. He's a good distributor of the ball, a good runner of the ball, quite obviously. He palmed Scott... Well, he didn't have to palm Scott Drinkwater because Scott Drinkwater didn't try and tackle him.
Well, that's the thing. That's when you're so elusive, you see. If you're so elusive.
He's a small man. He thought, well, there's a big man. I'm not going to tackle him. And then he didn't realise the big men can score tries. I'd like to give another unofficial hats off to Jack Hetherington's pass from dummy half for Adam Elliott's try.
Wonderful. It was wonderful.
That was one of the best dummy half passes you'd ever see. He somehow picked a hole in the defence. Yeah. And this is a man who was not raised to be a skilled footballer. No. This is a man who was raised to be the thug that we just, longed for. We just longed for mere seconds ago. And yet he's showing the deft hands of dare I say, a Cameron Smith or a Daniel Badiris.
I think so. Well, I
Is
think
the
so.
Australian number 9 jersey his? Who's to say?
Who's to say?
Not us.
It could still be Jack
Is
Henderson.
Mal Meninga still selecting the team? Because it just might happen. It might happen, ladies and gentlemen.
We have lots more to talk about the Cowboys and the Knights, as well as the upcoming game against the Storm. So please stick with us while we jump into halftime. Welcome back to the second half of the Joust. The Joust, Liam.
Joust, the very same podcast you guys listened to last week with me.
Before we leave the Cowboys game, Liam, because I think there's a few things that the Cowboys did really well in that second half.
I left my heart at the Cowboys game.
Oh, yeah. It sounds like a country song. It does, doesn't it? I left my heart at the Cowboys game. But what they did, they managed to suffocate our very
As though
own,
we were a terminally ill patient with a pillow.
yes, Greg Magier.
Greg the Bus. The
Bus.
man so nice they named him after a large automobile.
Very similar to what the Canberra Raiders managed to do over and over again, which seems to be the play. They say, look, Dom Young's not there anymore. Dom Young's not there, so they've got Greg.
Why must you remind me of this constantly?
It's in the zeitgeist, Liam. It's there.
So zeitgeisty.
So they say Greg the Bus is really, really good at running the ball. So let's kick to him again.
And also, he's not tall.
He's not tall.
So he's not a threat.
No, so he's barely got to catch it. If he does catch it, he gets tackled.
Again, his muscles are made of hard steel, adamantium.
Of
Was that
course.
Wolverine's thing?
Yeah,
adamantium
adamantium,
cock
yeah.
or something.
Adamantium cock. Is that, yeah. Well, I guess his penis was made of adamantium. You know, that's.
Well, there's no bone in there. They
Well,
didn't have a bone to replace.
I don't know. They're not went
not
through his
doctors,
body. Like,
Joust.
we're not doctors. We're not medical doctors. But so they decided to kick to him over and over again, and then so if he catches the ball, well done, and then takes the first run where he's already got 3 men on him, and then it's like, oh well, he has to play the ball. And he's out. He's out.
Instead, he dropped the ball and was one of 3 men on Kyle Felt when Kyle Felt decided to do what Kyle Felt does, and he did a Kyle Felt thing. He got an offload away.
One of the try.
3 Knights men, grown men, large, strong men, were physically restraining him.
Yeah.
And he managed to sneak an offload for a try to maybe Chad Townsend.
It was
I
Chad
don't know.
Townsend. It was Chad Townsend. And that was sort of a masterclass of Chad Townsend, how to steer a team that's not playing very well to victory.
It was a game of 2 halves, Naggy, both in the sense of the time
Yes.
of the game and the different, contexts from each 40 minutes, but it was also a game of 2 halves in a way that affects us for the Melbourne Storm game. It was a game where the Cowboys halves,
Yes.
2 of them,
Chad Townsend.
1 and 2, Chad Townsend,
and
Tom Dearden,
Tom
had
Dearden.
wonderful games.
What Dearden had a great game as well.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Newcastle Knights halves, 2 of them again, 1, 2, so each won a quarter of the
Yes.
whole.
Yeah, yeah.
Jackson Hastings and
Tyson
Tyson
Campbell.
Campbell.
Yeah.
So those 2 halves were arguably the worst 2 of the 2 sets of halves, and it has been reflected in this week's Team Naggy.
Yeah,
It's a
also,
huge
also
change.
without going backwards, without going forwards, but going back to the Cowboys game once again, I said that Valentine Holmes is one to watch. He had a stinker.
He had an absolute
stinker.
I was going to find another word, but you summed it up so perfectly.
He had a rubbish game.
You got the stink lines coming off
Stink
there.
line. He had stink
There's
lines and
bats
everything.
around him for some reason. It's Halloween. He's having a bad time. Yeah, it wasn't Val Holmes playing. It was just someone dressed up as Val Holmes, some scrub they picked up off the street in Townsville.
And the way that AOB said about the Cowboys game, he said, don't worry, because I think we've gained a few fans for how much grit that we showed. Is that what he said? Grit?
He did
Grit
say
and
grit.
determination.
I would argue that man needs to watch True Grit again because he missed the point.
I thought that game
missed
was
the
a game
point.
that he threw away a win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If anything, they probably lost fans.
AOB, is he under pressure, Liam?
No.
Probably not. 'Cause
Round 2.
No one else. Round 2. Too early to say.
Round 2, he signed for 3 more years. He's
Yeah.
fine, Naggy. Just give him that game. To me, I wasn't too upset.
Yeah.
It's a blowing out of the cobwebs. It's round 2. These things happen early in the season.
We expected
We're still
to
trying to
lose,
find
yeah.
the combinations. We're still trying to find the continuity.
Yeah.
And I think a big thing's happened in regards this week to continuity and finding combinations.
If we're looking forwards, not backwards, backwards, not forwards, twirling,
Always
always twirling. We take on the Melbourne Storm at home, the Newcastle Storm. You had the Daily Telegraph.
Pasha Bulker.
Always had. Well, that's an important
Newcastle Storm.
isn't that?
Yeah.
I think if there's going to be ever storm, there's going to be the one that the 2007.
That was
Pasha
great.
Bulker.
We all got a day off school.
I wasn't right in the Newcastle district, so I didn't.
Well, we all were.
It was just raining where I was.
It was in the early days, I believe, of YouTube on television.
Yeah.
YouTube on telephones, rather.
Of course.
And someone brought a telephone and said, there's a boat on Nobby's Beach. And because we were at Franny's, it was only, 17 and 18-year-olds, and everyone had a car, so we all just left.
St. Francis Xavier's,
Yeah.
you're right.
We all just left.
Not Franny's to be confused with Fanny's.
No.
We're not all at Fanny's.
They weren't open at 2 o'clock on a Friday afternoon.
No.
So we all just left. And then the school called our parents. And they're like, well, we're shutting the school because no one's here.
Yeah.
Everyone left.
Everyone
school's
home.
closed.
Yeah.
We went home.
There
It was
was that
great.
other.
Half day.
That other.
Everyone else got flooded and lost power. Not this guy.
Well, it was that other.
Had a great weekend.
Storm 7 years later, 2014, that I insisted
Was there?
that you come out with me to drink. And I was like, come on, it's a Monday. I've got the day off. Come on, Liam. And you said, I don't want to. It's bad weather. And I said, come on. And then we went out to the Kent, I believe.
Yeah.
A very inferior pub, mind you. It was terrible.
Terrible.
And
pub.
it was,
I wish we'd never gone.
And it was, and then it was raining, and they're like, we're closing. I was like, I don't want to go home, but I did.
Was
and
the
then,
storm, the thunder and lightning we were throwing into the microphone on karaoke night?
hey-o, possibly. But I think it was actually the thunder and lightning and the massive amount of rain. And then I woke up the next morning, and apparently it had been a terrible storm, and all of Newcastle lost power for days.
Really?
But I didn't, not in my shitty Merriweather apartment. And that was wonderful. It was
Well, you
wonderful.
didn't even have a real bedroom. so-
Not really.
Was there any power outlets in that room?
I couldn't tell if the power was on or off.
Exactly. I don't think it even had a light. You relied on the curtain.
But speaking of the power of the Storm, Liam,
the power.
is the actual team, the Melbourne Storm, one of the most successful clubs in the entire world.
From the moment of their inception.
yeah,
They were just a News Limited shilling attempt
They
to
could.
win a false competition.
Yeah.
It was forged from the fire and flames of the Super League war. Where am I going with this now?
but they did. They won one.
They're not a real club. That's what I'm trying to say. They're not a real rugby league club. They are a front for a news media corporation owned by a raging psych. Does News Corp still own them?
Yes.
Yeah.
Somewhat,
You-
yeah.
If you're listening, Rupert.
Yeah.
If you're listening, buddy.
Yeah. He'll hear us.
Shut the club down. They're a facade.
But speaking of
They're
Liam,
nothing but an excuse to launder money and sell papers.
if we're looking at the team list this week, there's a few big names missing.
Yeah. Speaking of a tale of two halves,
Yeah.
2 number 7s exiting each team for very different reasons. Now, the first reason, Naggy, another thing that's really funny in rugby league is when a referee,
Yes.
the people who rugby league couldn't survive without, let's be quite honest, gets assaulted by a player.
Yes.
And I believe that Jerome Hughes attempted to murder
Yeah.
whichever referee it was
Absolutely.
who they were playing with. That guy.
Yeah.
That guy. Was it Adam G? I wouldn't fight Adam
Someone
G.
like that,
He's
yeah.
so stern. Anyway, some man in a red shirt, Jerome Hughes thought he was a bull and just jammed at the guy in the red shirt.
Backed him over.
He thought, he thought, oh, well, there's a matador in front of me. I'm going to headbutt him. And he headbutted him.
He was wearing reddish,
Yeah.
but it's not the first time, Liam, that there's been an attack on a referee that end up with the referee being injured, hurt. Of course, we have the game against Brisbane and South many years ago.
Many, many years ago, back when Tony Carroll was still a thing. Looked 60, but played rugby league like a 30-year-old. He was quite amazing. But of course, you've got the great unnamed Souths player who
Knocked
did
him
that.
over.
He
I think
knocked
it was
the referee over.
Yep,
And Tony Carroll said
Yeah.
to Tony Dallas Harris,
Yeah, two Tonys.
you're
Yeah.
down. You're on the ground. I'm coming for you, bud.
He said, he said, whooshka, there's your goal.
See, that's the kind of thing that happens out the front of the Kent that wouldn't happen out front of the Wickham Park Hotel, ladies and
course
gentlemen.
not.
But Knights number 7 now, and speaking of this tale of two halves,
Yes.
we've had a disappearing act from our number 7 as well, Naggy. Jackson Hastings.
Our very own
Now,
Harold Houdini.
Harold Houdini, Jackson Hastings. At some point in the game last week, I saw him clutch an ankle. I was concerned, Naggy. I was concerned because he's had problems with his ankle. He's
got
well
half a
known for-
Bunnings
he's
in
got
there.
half of Bunnings in his ankle. Remember, they sent him to America. They consulted the.
No, they didn't.
Better for the narrative.
It's better for
Naggy.
It's better for the story.
narrative.
Well, why
They
did you interrupt the story?
They reconstructed his ankle
Yeah.
out of the aforementioned adamantium, and it didn't work because apparently his ankle doesn't work. And has he been dropped, Naggy? Is it an injury? Is it?
Does seem like he's been dropped, but he's also an emotional character, Liam. He's also someone that's gone through several clubs, the Roosters, Manly, over there in the UK, and then he's constantly
Salford.
He's constantly and the Tigers, of course, here searching for new clubs. Constantly, this is his 5th club that he's been to. Is this going to trigger another club upset that he's looking for a new club, saying, "Well, if I'm not playing first grade, I'm not playing for the Newcastle Knights"?
Well, I think it'll depend on what he says in the media over the next couple of weeks.
Yes,
Because as we all know, every time Jackson Hastings has left a club, it's
Yeah.
not been because the club have said, you've given us good service, thank you, sir, you can move on. It's because he's been a fuckhead.
There's been a problem. There's been a problem.
Every club. Now, I'm
Yeah.
not saying he is in Newcastle. He may
No,
have
no.
turned a corner. He might be a lovely fella.
I
don't
think he
know.
might be.
I'm just saying he might be. I'm
Yeah.
just saying if past tendencies are an indication, this worries me. Maybe it's affecting the team.
He might get the forks.
Might get the forks.
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
hope not.
Yeah.
You know, seeing the way he deals with fans and the media, he seems like a lovely fella.
I think so.
But there's that naggy doubt in the back of my mind.
Yeah, my doubt?
Yeah.
No, the doubt of the Naggy term in the derogatory
Well,
term.
no, you're
yeah.
the voice that's in my head. All
Yeah,
the
that's
time.
right.
Yeah, so it's the
Yeah, the other part
nagging
of the
down in the
brand.
back of my head. So not to cast aspersions on your character, Jackson. I know he listens to the show.
Of course, big fan,
I just, I don't think I'm out of line by looking to the past, perhaps. But
If I was looking at the last two games, I don't think he's been the biggest problem with the Newcastle Knights.
No, I wouldn't. I would argue the losing has been the biggest problem.
I think it's been great that he did the kick to the Greg Magier, the bus.
that was a wonderful kick. It was
There's
beautiful little dab.
composure. I think that was what we
Patience,
needed.
maturity. It showed.
But there's been this other element that's floating around saying, what about me? What about me? He speaks a very high-pitched voice. It's Jack Cogger, the graduate, not only the
Principal of the School of Unremarkable Boys.
Exactly.
They're famed alumni. And now, we discussed in the opening episode of the season that I thought that maybe Jack Cogger would come into the starting halves by about round 12.
Yes.
I was only off by 9, Joust.
That's close.
Oh, I was so close. You wouldn't believe it. This is why you shouldn't listen to my opinions on rugby league.
But you're right.
I was an entire 9 rounds off.
Well, that was close.
Yeah, it was close.
But there was also, a lot of people said that Tyson Responsibly was going to be the player that's going to miss out and then possibly have Jackson Hastings and Jack Cogger there. But I do think they're two similar players.
Yeah, they are very similar players.
Similar height, similar build.
Yeah.
You want, I think you're a big man, small man. You want that kind of sort of diversity, if you will, amongst.
Diversity is very important to us at the Joust. Very important to us.
So now we got.
Can we cut to our cameramen who all look exactly the same as us? We're a very diverse crew.
So now we've got they're all the same.
We've
men.
assembled this diverse crew of white men to discuss cultural influences.
But the diversity of size, if you will. I think
Size diversity.
size
yes.
diversity. Yes.
Again, we're all relatively the same height.
It's called seversity. But I always thought there's a lot of sort of naysayers against Tyson Gamble, but he's maintained his spot. Now we have Jack Cogger, the principal and the graduate and the school owner of the School for Unremarkable Boys.
The cog in the wheel.
The cog in the wheel. Yeah, sorry,
Greenskeeper.
he's the
He's the
greenskeeper
greenskeeper.
as well. He does it all there. He's
That's
very
my
hard
dream
worker.
job, to be the greenskeeper at Marathon Stadium. Or the guy who washes the jerseys. I'd take that job in a
It
heartbeat.
does seem fun to ride the
machine that makes the lines.
The machine, because they run. I think it's a greenskeeper on a bowl screen, but they ride to the side,
They do. They're right aside.
and then you
side
say,
ride.
it looks like fun.
Yeah, it does.
Isn't
Isn't it strange that we drive cars at
Yeah.
like 70 or 80 kilometres an hour and it's just a chore?
Yeah.
But when you ride on a ride-on mower at 4 to 5 kilometres an hour,
Lot of fun.
It's fun.
It's good.
It's the same with a forklift. You ever driven a forklift?
Once.
it's awesome.
but I shouldn't have. Yeah.
That's the only
story.
reason anyone drives a forklift.
But it is fun, and there is like an element of, but there's also a huge machine cutting things underneath, so there's an element of danger.
That's the danger.
But there's also
Because driving a car at 80 kilometres is notoriously
Yeah,
safe.
it's like 70 people die every year. But there is a player that's coming back that we may have forgotten about because he's been so long since he played.
I've never forgotten about him because his handsome face is in my head at all times. Good
Jaden
looking
Brayley!
man. That's a
Jaden-
square jaw.
Square jaw. Captain
Square
America.
jaw,
But
yeah.
he's Australian.
What would Captain Australia's superpowers be?
Well, Captain
He
Australia.
can pour a schooner out of his main finger.
Yeah,
There you go.
cook a shrimp on his tongue.
He's got the kicking power of a kangaroo.
Everything.
Pointer
is so,
finger, sorry.
Everything's so strong, but unfortunately for Jaden, he just keeps breaking down. And we say, stop it. Please, it's been 3 out of the last 4 years that you just can't keep yourself on the
And
field.
he listens to the Joust, and we
Mr.
keep saying
Glass.
stop getting injured, and he never stops.
He never stops.
He's a big fan of the show.
We've asked him again and again. But
Yeah.
so Jaden Brayley on the bench. We still got Phoenix, Crossfield Bomland on there as a starting hooker, even though I think it'd be fair to say that everyone's not too impressed with his efforts
But
lately.
again, given his heroics last year, I think it's safe to say heroics. I think. I don't think.
so.
Again, well, he's Captain Australia. He's a heroic. Oh no, Jaden Bray. Anyway, whatever. Shut up.
We're talking about Phoenix Crossland Bomber.
Phoenix Crossland's heroics last year. I think he deserves a bit more time.
Possibly another game or so before he loses his 9 to the number 14.
And then, of course, the bus, Naggy. The bus is broken down.
The bus is broken down,
Somewhere
Liam.
up in Townsville. It was too moist.
But
the moistness got in the engine. The engine broke.
we worked out that it was the thing that, because the bus has broken his wrist, and we thought, what the hell has he broken
What
his
on
wrist
earth could break a bone of that man?
Not a human man. He
Not a
couldn't break it
human
over that. He couldn't break it over the ground, the soft, supple ground.
If I hit him with a trolley pole, it'd probably break the trolley pole.
Exactly right.
Remember when that was an iconic Newcastle weapon?
Oh, of course, the trolley pole up
yeah.
your sleeve.
Yeah.
So that's how you hide
I
it.
remember going to a music show once, and a guy had a broken arm.
Yeah.
He had a cast on.
Of course.
And he had a trolley pole stashed
So-
inside the cast, just in case he got into a fight that night.
It's called a just in
Spoiler
case.
alert, he did.
Yeah.
He did. But I think, and we had a bit of a theory last week about someone's injury who fell in the shower. That guy. Who was that guy?
It was Munster.
Yeah, that
Munster.
one. Yeah. So whenever you look, reading between the lines as we did last week, whenever you injure yourself in the shower,
Wanking.
whenever you injure your wrist,
Wanking.
accident.
Yeah, of
Sorry,
course,
Greg. I know he hammed it up on the field. He said, "I broke my wrist." Oh no, he just rubbed one out at halftime in the showers.
I believe it might have
It went
been
wrong.
He's
It
injured
went all
himself
askew.
on himself, falling down after
Well, wanking, you are injuring yourself on yourself.
Well, exactly right. Yeah, by your own hands, if you will. But falling on himself into his own body into an awkward position has
Into
broken
his own mass.
his wrist, and we've been replaced. We've already got Tom Jenkins on one wing, and we're replaced by the old favourite of the Newcastle Knights,
Anari Tuala.
Anari Tuala.
2 times in a row, Knights leading try scorer. Naggy.
That's right. 20.
Taken in isolation, that's a great sounding sentence, but he scored, what, 9 and 11, I think he said? 9 and 11.
It wasn't.
In isolation,
9-11.
Anari Tuala,
9-11.
never forget, ladies and gentlemen, never forget. Taken in isolation, Anari Tuala is a 2-time leading try scorer.
Of the Newcastle.
But those 2 times when the Knights' attack was dog water.
It only takes a couple
It
of
was
times.
bad.
Only takes a couple of times for him to really step up. But it could also be, Liam, there's a couple of what could be described as the haunts of Christmas past. No, what's it called?
Ghosts of Christmas
Ghosts of
Past.
Christmas past.
Of course, Michael Caine seen there.
Yeah.
He's had fear struck into him by this former Hunter Valley trio.
Yeah.
Of course, he got
Josh King,
Yep.
Luke Meaney, no, Nick
Meaney,
Meaney,
yep.
his brother Nick,
And Jonah Pezzett.
and Jonah Pezzett.
Of course, whose dad, I believe, was the high performance. Yeah, Troy
Pezzett.
Troy Pezzett was the master of high performance at the Knights when
we have a photo
when
of him
young
right here.
Pezzett was here. Of course, born and raised in New Scattle, according to Wikipedia.
According to
there.
Wikipedia,
So
New
well
Scattle.
done, Wikipedia.
Yeah.
I'll be speaking to William Kpedia to get it amended ASAP. But yeah, look. Meaney scored in that game last year that we famously won, and I thought, here we are again, back
Yeah.
to be haunted by the ghosts of Newcastle Past.
But we beat
Didn't
them.
pan out for them, so I'm hoping that these ghosts of Newcastle Past can be no more than that. Just ghosts that we see, and we wake up and we don't worry until we see the last one, and we give all our fortune to a young boy to buy a goose.
No Hughes, no Munster. Who are we out looking for? The return of the Pap. Liam.
Pap's back,
Return
and
of
he's
the
having a
Pap.
good season.
To his full powers
Yeah.
again. I don't know if it's Samson-like, but as his hair gets longer, he gets stronger.
He does. That's very
Yeah.
much like the story of Samson.
But hopefully
We can be his Delilah.
hopefully Pappenhausen and Brayley don't ever clash, because both of them will shatter into 1,000 pieces. It would be the most devastating thing you ever see on a rugby league field. These two very, very injured men held together mostly by clay and
They're keeping
metal.
Elastoplast in business.
They are.
My God.
More tape.
Yeah.
More tape.
And then, of course, we've got the concern of Tyron Wishart in the halves.
Yes.
Obviously, his father was Rod Wishart, a pack of famously known as a human pack of cigarettes.
Human pack of
Have a go at
cigarettes.
him, ugliest man maybe to play
He
after
was,
Brett Dallas.
yeah,
Brett Dallas
yeah.
was number 1.
Steelers
Wishart
man,
was a
wasn't
close
he? Yeah.
2. Yeah, good, honest Illawarra. Illawarra, as we all know, is the Newcastle of the South, so we like Rod Wishart here. But I think the thing we really have to worry is that every time Xavier Coates gets the ball, no matter where on the field,
Yeah.
if he takes the ball off the kickoff, he will dive and score.
Yes.
If he gets the ball, and he's sitting in the first row of the grandstand, he'll dive and score.
He'll just dive and score.
Yeah.
6 metres off the ground, he can catch it. Score.
If he's at a nearby pub, say for example the Wickham Park Hotel, they pass him the ball, dive and score.
Dive and score.
Into the corner.
That's all right. He can do that.
79th minute to win the game. He'll dive and score.
There's things to worry about, Liam. Do you have any bold predictions for the Knights versus Melbourne Storm? Can we recharge charge our batteries in terms of... Sorry, I had a dead battery in my car recently, and I think I'm a bit stuck on that idea. Can we reignite our ignition?
Yes,
to our transmission.
We can reignite the ignition to the transmission
from round 21 last year.
Yep.
Can we do that, or will we be struck down by an understrength Melbourne side?
Look, a Melbourne Storm victory against the Melbourne Storm last year was the turning point in the season. I think this could be the turning point in the night season, albeit at round 3, so it doesn't matter. But it could be the turning point of the season. Yeah. I have concerns. Pappenhausen, number 1.
Of course.
Their second row is Joe Chan, Eli Katoa. Yeah. They concern me, but
Front
you've
rows.
got 2 men in KPP and Frizzell, I think, who can contain these young tyros they've got on the edges. Front row, they're pretty handy.
Nofaluma. He's
What?
back.
No.
No, what am I thinking of?
No, he got fired from the Tigers a couple of months ago.
No, who am I thinking of?
Billy Bricks.
No, the big...
He worries me.
Solomon. Yeah, it shows where I'm at as far as... Yeah. Yeah, of course.
This podcast brought to you by Cooper's Sparkling Red Ale.
Those two very, very close together, like Norfoluma and...
Surfer Solomon.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Apologies, everyone. To everyone.
And what's your bold prediction, Naggy?
Look, I think the Knights can do this, can make sure that they're going to relive to their home crowd the magical sense of round 21 of 2023, and I think they might win by 1 point.
And Naggy, where will you be watching the game?
I think I cannot watch it anywhere else but the Wickham Park Hotel, Liam.
I'll be buried in my couch due to a horrifying hangover. I might die. I don't know.
There's nowhere else better to watch it than the Wickham Park Hotel.
Especially not your couch when you're dying of a hangover.
If you're going to be watching it anywhere, please watch it there. But if you like us, and like us, what we do, watch us on Facebook and YouTube, SoundCloud.
Get in on TikTok before the Australian government bans it, Jousters.
Yeah.
Biden's giving it the arse.
I've heard if they ban it doesn't mean they cancel the whole thing.
Oh, good.
It just means that
we'd be in trouble
they
otherwise.
take it off Apple Tunes.
Oh.
But you can watch us on Apple Tunes or listen to us on Apple Tunes, Spotify, all those social pipes. Thank you for joining us for another week of the Joust. You can catch us again after we celebrate another win. Another win, meaning the wins that we got from last season. With this season, their first win against the Melbourne Storm. We'll catch you again, Justice.
Bye.
My.